Hello and welcome to the World F3 Championship live on Apex Racing TV. I'm Sam Fitzpatrick, and alongside me tonight is Tyler Vickery with Sam Kumo broadcasting this event. And we're here at Monza, just like the World GT was just over a week ago. And we're in store for a fantastic round of this championship. And Tyler, this race can really mix up the established order. Such a slipstream fest this, and I think the two 30-minute races we're going to have today, we might see some surprising results perhaps.
Yeah, I think it will definitely be, and it's also safe to say that we'll probably end up seeing a lot of trains as well. But usually with open wheel cars, if we see some trains, you got to make sure that there's no mistakes by anyone, because if a mistake happens, there's going to be some big wrecks. But setup wise, there's not going to be a lot going on. You're going to be seeing everyone with a low downforce setup. I mean, it's plain and simple. This is a very, very long track that's filled with straightaways. We do have a few corners, but most of those corners are like, we have the 3 different chicanes. We got first and second chicane, and then we have the Ascari chicane, and that's the only slope spots out of this whole track. So it's gonna be pretty much a very large pack racing, I want to call it, but the better skilled drivers are going to give themselves some more opportunity to pull away from the rest of the field. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, certainly that racecraft will be tested very much today. And it's interesting with the downforce levels. I think you actually missed the interviews that we had last week with a couple of the drivers, but they're actually saying how they might even run high downforce this car, whether it is a slightly broken or not. But apparently, it only really works well with a high downforce setup. So it'll be interesting with that, because Apex Racing UK, particularly the championship leaders in the teams championship currently, they've certainly been willing to go for a low downforce setup, and you can see on that rear wing of Paul Ilbrink, he's running very low downforce setup. So maybe we're going to see a bit of variance out there. Hopefully we will. And in the championship, we will just update you quickly. Peter Bayman leading the way currently, 8 out of 20 races completed. It's almost the halfway point in the championship. He's about 90 points ahead of Kevin Ellis. And in third place is Paul Ilbrink, and Alex Simpson. In 5th position is Nicholas Rasmussen, and then behind that is Namela Rose, Clermont, Lockwood, and Henny as well. So a competitive top 10 undoubtedly, and it should be very competitive out there once again today.
Yeah, and having an add-in on the with the setups, I did forget about that setup. So high downforce setups at times, a lot of the more elite drivers have noticed. I learned this actually from Jordan Giddings, where the high downforce setups, I think I might have talked about this a race or two ago, because I'm just now remembering this. The high downforce setups, if you can be paid, there is no limitation on how low of a degree you want to use. So you can have a high downforce setup like how we're watching Kevin Ellis, who has a high downforce setup on. But you can have that rear angle degree. You can have that almost dead flat at 0 degrees to get the and it would essentially be a low downforce package. So just with how some of these drivers are going to be using, it's going to be very interesting, and we might actually see some of the drivers, especially Apex. They might all be on high downforce setups, but even though they might be on high downforce setups, their front wings, the degree numbers in that on the cars are more than likely almost at dead 0, or maybe 1 or 2 degrees compared to a normal high downforce setup where you would probably have about 22, 25 degrees of wing angle.
Right, okay, so yeah, certainly the drivers maybe using a very low degree for that wing, but maybe a little bit, a little bit more downforce elsewhere. As Paul Gosling, apologies, oh dear, is about to cross the line to set his first lap of the day. And it's still the slowest time, but he is in 13th position now. Richard Alsop yet to put in a lap time out there, and according to my screen, he's not actually on circuit currently. And so, I'll say he is on circuit. I think that was just actually him going past right there. The Racing Network driver picking up a little bit of a slipstream down into turn one. Of course, it'll be interesting this battle between Apex Racing UK and the Racing Network. I think the top two teams in this series. And last time we saw Brian Lockwood dominating race one. I think that's the only way of putting it. He was something like 15 seconds clear by the end of the half an hour race. And it'll be interesting to see what that rivalry is like today, because yeah, once again, three Apex drivers and two the Racing Network drivers. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of work together to beat one another.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Right now, how the Racing Network was able to compete last week. They were able to put in some fights, but with the notorious Interlagos is where we were racing last week. It made a big difference, and so it'll be interesting to see how the Racing Network can be able to come back and try to fight with Apex. Right now, Apex is going to be the team to beat, especially here because Peter Berryman and Kevin Ellis are really good with straight line setups, especially here at Monza. So these guys are going to be the ones to beat.
Yeah, I think so. And currently they are showing that in qualifying, occupying first and third positions. Also good to see the likes of Halliburton, Rasmussen, Ilbrink, and a few others as well. Very competitive field, as we always say. Unfortunately, the numbers have dropped a little bit. 15 drivers around today. And hopefully we'll see that pick up a little bit later on. I certainly know a couple of drivers who unfortunately couldn't make today's round just due to real life issues. And yeah, hopefully they'll be back next week. So Marco Nomer, currently only in 9th position. Apology, he's the other Racing Network driver. So there's actually three of the Racing Network out there. As Brian Lockwood, currently the top of them. Will he be able to beat Pete Bowman's pole time as he goes across the line? And it was an invalidated lap time, so hopefully he'll have time to put in one more. I think this is going to be his last one because I know he's already done a couple of laps. I think he's going to run out of fuel by at the end of this lap. Will Daniels approaching the line now, currently in P10 for the Excite Racing team. Certainly have made improvements, that team, recently, but he cannot improve on his position that time. Well, Daniel stays in 10th place. Now, it's ever so close at the moment, actually, between that top 10. Currently, 1.3 seconds separating the top 10, about 7/10 of a second separating the top 8. And it does certainly imply that it's not just going to be a two-team race, there's going to be others involved as well. And of course, as long as you're within about 3/10 of a second of the driver ahead, you can usually keep up down the straights around here.
Yeah, and most of the time, and it's going to be reflecting around breakpoints. The breaking points are going to be very key for this track, and the I almost want to say this is going to be more of a momentum race where you want to get on the brakes early to make sure you don't hit the car in front of you, but you also got to make sure you're getting on the brakes not as hard either to lose a lot of your speed, because you're going to be able to carry a lot of momentum if you're through some of these corners, and if you're able to carry that momentum, that's a lot of extra speed for you going through the straights. So it's going to be very interesting to see how aggressive some of these drivers are going to be at the start.
Yeah, starts can be an issue around here. A little bit of a concertina effect often you can get, and of course these cars, these single seaters, are a bit, yeah, a bit vulnerable to that contact. And it was interesting actually on Monday we were watching the World GT and we had a crash where a rear wing just flew straight off a GT car. I had no idea that already parts of the new damage model had been put into the simulator. And if we'll see a few rear wings flying out there today, as Nicholas Rasmussen, another very skinny rear wing out there. He crosses the start-finish line now, and he's going to start his final lap. Of course, only 20 more seconds to go in this 15-minute qualifying session. Richard Alsop, is this going to be his only time? think it is. It looks like a clean lap so far for him there. I think this is going to really promote him up a lot of places. It might even get into the top 6 or so. He crosses the line. It's only 10th position, in fact, for Richard. He'll be a little bit disappointed with that. And, I think he'll get one more lap in.
He might, and it was close. I think the checker flag came out after he crossed the line. But looking at the qualifying times right now, Marco Novella and Richard Allstop down in 9th and 10th. That's gonna really and it looks like one of the Racing Network guys just went off track, but that's gonna really hamper them if they want to be able to get this fight to Apex Racing, who has Peter Berryman and Calvin Ellis provisionally on 1st and 2nd, and Alex Smith is in 7th. So it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And Namella, is this a clean lap? I think it is, but he's only set one personal best sector time so far. He's going to really need something spectacular. That's a decent sector 4, though. It's 5 sectors around this circuit. Always confuses me, I must say, the sectors around here. But here comes Namella. He needs a really good lap time hit. He needs to improve by quite a bit to move up the field. And he crosses the line and... Well, I think he actually set... I think that was a legitimate time, but it was 1/1000th slower than his personal best time, and he didn't move up the order. So, as he picks up a cone for his troubles as well. And a nice hefty crash as well. Who else is still out there then? So, Richard Alsop, has he completed his lap time? Yes, he has. And so that's everyone. Poor Ilbrink at the start of this. He clearly didn't cross the line before the start-finish line. Before the check flag came out. So pretty much the grid is set. Paul just gaining a little bit more experience around this circuit scene.
Yep.
And of course a good opportunity to show off that Radicals livery and all their sponsors as well. And of course, yeah, this part of the circuit going to be very interesting where, of course, the DRS zone, I believe, is in real life. We'll see these cars not with the DRS, I'm sure even with the skinniness of that rear wing, it really wouldn't help them too much whatsoever. It's not like what we see on a Sunday in the Formula Renault 3.5. It's all down to the pure racing in this car. And we're about to get underway here. But first off, the grid. And it's Peter Bayman once again on pole position, re-establishes his dominance in that department this season. Bjorn Lockwood starts on the front row alongside him, only 2/10 off in qualifying. Kevin Ness Jr. starts in 3rd position with Nicholas Rasmussen a close 4th. Then Kane Halliburton lines up in 5th. Paul Ilbrink starts in 6th with Alex Simpson in 7th. That top 7 really close, only separated by about half a second. Davey Witzbold starts in 8th with Marco Namella in 9th. There's Richard Alsop in 10th place, Will Daniels in 11th, Miles Clotesley in 12th. There's Paul Gosling, Nick Sherman, and Alex Jonsson rounding out the field. Just got a handful of drivers left to get on the grid, but how important is this start? Do you feel as though Bjorn Lockwood has to get this move done right at the start if he's going to stand a chance of winning this race, Tyler?
The one drivers I'll look at, top 3 are going to be big, but I'd keep an eye on Kane Halliburton, Nicholas Rasmussen. Those are probably going to be the only other drivers, as long as they don't make mistakes, that I think they might have an opportunity to try to steal a win here at Monza, especially with the low amount of drivers for this week. So it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out, but I think Rasmussen and Halliburton are going to have the best opportunity as long as they don't make mistakes.
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, will be absolutely fascinating. We've seen a few incident-packed first laps so far this season. Are we going to see the same here? Alex Johnson yet to get onto the grid. Seems like he's not going to take the start after not setting a qualifying time. We are very nearly here for race 9 of the season in the World F3 Championship. It's Bayman on the front row alongside Lockwood. And away we go at Monza. It's a good start for Bayman. Straight away has to cover off Lockwood. Now, the sprint down into turn 1. Is Ellis going to be able to make an impact? Bayman trying to give his teammate a bit of a slipstream. He might just allow the Racing Network driver to go down the inside. And now Ellis is round the outside through the first part of the first corner. And now gets the into for the second part. And he is up into second position. Not too many drivers losing positions out there. It's just Daniels getting past Alsop. That's the only other move out there. As once again, trying to come back is Ryan Lockwood. And here comes Rasmussen as well. He sees an opportunity at second position. Fantastic straight line speed for the NHR Esports driver. And he moves up into third position for now. Lockwood being shuffled down the order early on.
Very impressive start there by Rasmussen, and Lockwood being the unfortunate victim in this one, losing 2 spots. So a very great start for Rasmussen, as we seen Kevin Ellis going a little wide there, but that's gonna be the normal here for this track kind of.
Already 2.2 seconds separating the top 2. What an incredible start for Pete Bayman this is. And now moving up into second position is Nicholas Rasmussen. That skinny rear wing, you can see the difference between Rasmussen's rear wing and the rear wing of Kevin Ellis Jr. And that's really helping him down the straight. But now Ellis has the slipstream. He'll duck out from underneath. But now that he's not got that slipstream, he should just lose that track position. And this could be a difficult race for him now that Rasmussen has got ahead of him, trying to get the cutback once again, but Rasmussen should have the best run down the hit straight. Just behind that was Ilbrink and Halliburton going side by side. Ilbrink making up one position. Also Simpson getting involved in that one as well, as Ellis Jr. has to slot back into position. Now gets on the inside, and now we're going to go 3 wide. Down the inside goes Brian Lockwood. It's going to be a very ambitious move. He thinks better of it, backs out of it for now, and well, Rasmussen loses that position, but this one is by no means over.
No, and looking further back too, we got Paul Ilbrink looking at going 3 wide here as well. So far, all the drivers are being very cautious, giving everyone room. We still got 28 minutes in this race, so everyone's being very cautious ahead of the second chicane now.
Or leaving a lot of room there. Now off goes Simpson, off goes Ilbrink. Those two have been so close for the entire season, and finally they do collide. That was an incident with Halliburton, who was just so slow outside that chicane after mantling a curb. And well, this is how it's all happened. Ilbrink just behind at this point in the Red Radicals car. Simpson just ahead of him. You can see Halliburton so slow coming out of that corner, and also a little bit of context, I believe, for Richard Alsop as well.
Yeah, seeing from that camera angle, you could see how Kane also had the same issue where he did what Simpson did, where he used the curbings a little too much. What Kane ended up doing, he probably got on the brakes a little bit there to keep from making a bigger mistake. But with how close these cars are, and with how close of a train that these cars are going to have, it's going to be very difficult to check up quickly enough. And that's, in a sense, what happened to Alex Simpson and Paul Ilbrink. Just unfortunate victims, and Kane Halliburton was able to get away with, in a way of getting away from the field now, and he's going to be all by himself for a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. As going up into second position is Brian Lockwood. Fantastic move. This time the 3 wide did work for him, and he's up into second position. And, well, I don't think Rasmussen is going to be able to respond. Ellis is having an awful run of it at the moment. He's got stuck behind Rasmussen here. He just cannot get the move, and as soon as Lockwood has half a chance, he just goes storming past his rival. You can see it's Ellis running significantly more wing than his rivals, and it's really costing him at the moment in this wheel-to-wheel fighting. And off the circuit there goes Marco Nemella. He was up into 7th position, I believe, after the incidents for Ilbrink and Simpson, where he's dropped back down into 9th now as Witzer Bowles just drops down into 8th. He's lost out to Will Daniels.
And it seems like a few of the drivers are going a little too wide and making a little bit of issues. As Winterbowles going up on the high portion, it looks like he's just letting Numella by. So I believe Winterbowles might have had a little bit of an off track somewhere that resulted in a slowdown. So these
I know, into the wall.
That's
Oh,
Will
and
Daniels.
almost back as well. Well, that was a miracle there for Will Daniels that he did not collide with someone else.
Yeah, I think he could have easily have collided with Marco Numella or Whittleballs, depending on who was there.
Well, he just missed the apex a little bit. And, well, a perfect 360. He almost came back onto the circuit, the exact spot where he went off. And a miracle, like I said before, that he didn't make any contact. Rasmussen under pressure from Ellis, who goes down the inside. Can he finally get this move done? Yes, he does, and gets a very good launch as well. Rasmussen's not going to be able to respond. And finally, Ellis, after spending some 3 laps behind the Norwegian, gets that move started.
Here's the interesting too. With these three battling as hard as they are, Lockwood finally has some room now where he's able to pull away a little bit from these two drivers of Kevin Ellison and Nicholas Rasmussen. But Peter Berryman getting just the luck of the draw. His last lap time was one of the quickest with a 143.2. He's got over a 3.7 second gap over the second through fourth. So Peter Berryman's probably just cruising around and loving this right now and hoping that the rest of the guys further back continue to battle.
Yeah, looking on course to extend his championship lead. I know he doesn't mind too much about the championship, he just cares about the team's championship, and it's looking very good for Apex Racing UK, but I'm sure Peter would like to have his hands on that metaphorical trophy. I don't think there is actually a trophy for this championship, but it certainly does look on course for that first position in the race, and the championship as Alsop goes in front of Halliburton. So Richard, after making a little bit of contact as well when we had that collision, that contact really hasn't affected him too much. And you can see how he's still not that far off the top 4. And Halliburton running a little bit more wing himself, seemingly not working great for him, and it's going to be difficult for him to come back later on, as Namella has to come to the pits, seemingly with quite a bit of damage, I believe. He does get a fast repair though, but this is a very, very long pit lane, and he's going to lose a lot of time now.
Yeah, usually about 40-second pit lane time, I want to say, and that's a lot of the time is very costly for this track. So hopefully Numella will be able to try to come back and in the next race can be able to take advantage of the wheel as long as he can stay a lap behind or less, he'll be able to get the opportunity with the wheel.
Yeah, I desperately racked my brains to think who won last time. It was Lockwood in the first race, and I think it was Namella in the second race. So, is fortune going to repeat itself? Because he really did turn that disappointing race 1 result into a fantastic race 2 result last week, did Mark Namella. I wouldn't bet against him doing the same again. Paul Ilbrink and Alex Simpson are also completely out of position. Those three, 11th, 12th, and 13th. So, and almost occupying the same piece of circuit as well, only about 7 seconds between the three of them, despite all having to come into the pits so far. And so these guys could be very dangerous for the race later on. Of course, another half an hour race coming up later, and it could be a reverse grid, I believe, from 12 to a full grid, from to 15. So most likely will be a full reverse grid with the slight shortage of entries today, as we see Lockwood and Ellis going at it. So Ellis has done well, in fact, closing that gap. He was set the fastest lap of the race on that last lap, but that downforce isn't going to help him too much with this overtaking, as he gets closer and closer to his rival, down to just 1/10 of a second. Here comes Ellis. Will he go to the inside into the second chicane? But he decides best to go of it.
It's patient game is going to be the key now for Ellis. He knows his teammates way down the road already 4 seconds gap from him and Lockwood to Berryman. So for Kevin Ellis now, it's more of a patience now. You know you're not going to have enough time to catch up to Berryman, as you're already 10 minutes into the race, and you need to just focus on maximizing your opportunity for the championship points. Be patient. Wait until you can get an opportunity to get around Lockwood that you know you can be able to make, or even just wait for Lockwood to make a mistake and just ride around until you get
Oh,
a
and
third
Lockwood is going to go into
mistake.
the wall here. He's made contact, and Lockwood is going to need a fast repair now. He's binned away a potential second position, and that is horrendous for Brian.
Yep. And just as I was saying too, Kellen Ellis is probably grinning from ear to ear now, especially after I kind of just cursed Lockwood, but in a way, I kind of was right with Kevin. Was just having to be patient and wait for a mistake, and lo and behold, as soon as I said it, that was when Lockwood made a critical mistake.
But it seems as though he's going to be able to continue on his way. I did say straight away how he was going to have to go back to the pits. But apart from some very poor straight line speed down the pits, Jay, he might just be okay. Can we just ride on board with him for a few seconds? Just see how that steering angle is. And unfortunately, I've just seen that I haven't even got my steering wheel for my graphics on, so I can't actually see if he's okay or not. But seemingly he's holding on to the drivers just ahead decently.
Looking in on the right wheel, either it's a right, I believe it's the right front wheel that made a lot of the contact, or yeah, a lot of the right front wheel making a lot of the contact. It doesn't seem to be having too much issues. It's looks as if it's still the suspension's still intact, like it's nothing really any severe damage other than just the front wing crimped a little bit. So I think he's got an opportunity to salvage some points.
Now, of course, he's got his teammate just in front with Richard Alsop. He's had a fantastic race now, starting in 10th position. We were saying how he'd be disappointed with that. Well, I think if you get a P4 out of this, then he'd be absolutely delighted with this result. And it's looking likely at the moment because Lockwood is falling back. Well, look at his times. This would be a decent indication. Just for reference, the leaders are kind of doing mid 43s, and then you got Rasmussen and Alsop doing high 43s. Brian Lockwood will cross the line now, and he has done a 1 minute 45. So yeah, he's about 1.5 seconds off the pace. On that last lap, he lost 1 second to Kane Halliburton. So I think Halliburton should catch him. Witterbowles should catch him as well. Could be a nice three-way battle between these guys.
with uh with with Kane running at 144, it looks like Kane might be struggling with some tires a bit, but we'll definitely have to keep an eye on Brian Lockwood because I believe that 145 might have been a little bit of the when the wreck happened as well, because I do know the wreck did happen in the previous lap before, so there's still a little bit of wiggle room, but we'll have to keep an eye on Lockwood's times because if he's able to start running a little bit more consistent, he might be able to keep battled with Halliburton, as Halliburton's only about a second and a half, like 1.1 seconds behind. So it's going to be interesting to see how that setup will handle. Ooh, I heard someone spinning in the
Yeah, me
background.
too. Nothing on our timing screen, so it seems to be okay for everyone, but just clearly a big turn of the wheel, a lot of screeching of the tyres, and they seem to all got away from it unscathed. That's the corner which has caused a few victims so far. Lockwood and I tried to think who crashed. Oh yeah, it was Will Daniels, of course, who crashed earlier on as well. He's left the session, by the way, so Daniels won't be eligible for the reverse grid for race 2, quite crucially. So they've currently only got 13 drivers who'd be eligible for that currently. And with the minimum reverse grid of 12, well, it's looking very good for Marco Namella and Paul Ilbrink at the moment. You're currently sitting in 12th and 13th to maybe take the front row of the grid for race 2. But we've still got plenty of race 1 to go, only halfway into this one, not even halfway into this one. And Halliburton now right on the tail of Lockwood. And what'll be interesting to see what the acceleration is for Halliburton here, closing in on his rivals, half a second between the two of them. The damage on Brian Lockwood's car costing him so much time, another 45 on that last lap. 1.3 seconds faster for Halliburton. He is going to go defensive here, Lockwood, or is he just going to let his rival pass? He's going to do the latter, and Halliburton moves back up into 5th place.
Lockwood's looking for salvage points, and he knew that Halliburton was going to have the speed on the straights. with that front wing being damaged, Lockwood knows he's not going to have any straight line speed. So letting Kane by there on the outside going into the second chicane was perfect idea for Lockwood, and he can give himself a little bit of room and maybe have a chance to use some of Halliburton's draft to try to hang on and maybe at least try to defend from Danny Whittleballs. Danny Whittleballs is closing in because after that he'll have about a 6.3-second gap to Miles Coletzi, or actually a 7-second gap to Miles Coletzi. So be very interesting to see what kind of strategy Lockwood can do to try to salvage as many points as he can going into the race number 2.
Yeah, that's certainly got to be his mentality here. I don't think he's going to have much of a response against Witterballs. He's fallen out of the slipstream of Halliburton, and Witterballs, this should be pretty easy for him. 4/10 of a second. Now only 3/10 of a second. He's going to be alongside him and past him, I think, by the time they go into turn 1. Is he letting this one go? Is Lockwood? Yes, he is. He's just going to duck in behind. Got to make sure he doesn't break himself. And Lockwood down into 7th position after running in 2nd place earlier on in the event. And, well, he should be okay from now on. He's 7 seconds ahead of Clotesley, who is lapping only a few tenths of a second a lap faster than him. So that should be okay for Lockwood. As actually Lockwood's got back past Witterballs. He's not giving up. And that's a very nice move from Brian Lockwood. Witterballs couldn't break the draft. And back comes Lockwood. Still showing some fights at that.
Looks as if that front wing's not hurting him too much, but he's just gonna do what he can now to try to hang on to this car. And I kind of agree with Brian. It's gotta fight when you have the opportunity to, and you know that Davey Whittleballs is not the fastest driver compared to Kane Halliburton. So Davey's gonna have to do a lot of work if he wants to get around Lockwood.
Absolutely. We've also got another battle going on between Gosling and Shermans, but we'll stick with this one for now because once again Witterballs is going to go past. Now, the important thing for Witterballs is to break this draft straight away. And you can see getting back into the draft is Lockwood. He needs to stay within about 2/10 of a second. The gap is 2/10 of a second. Now, will he gain down this straight, or is that damage just going to cost him too much? You know what? He is gaining slightly, is he? No, it's absolutely maintaining, according to my timing screen, 0.21 of a second. And I don't think he's going to be in range to go for a move into turn 1, 0.20 seconds now. And yeah, he's going to have to stick in behind, taking a lot of that first curb. And now it's a good run for Lockwood. This is a pain for Witterballs. He knows that he's some 1.5 seconds a lap faster when they've not got the slipstream. But now that he has got the slipstream, Lockwood, he's going to try to respond once again. He's going to replicate the move that he tried on the last lap, trying to cover it off is Witterballs. But I don't think there is any covering it off because down the inside goes Lockwood and he responds once again.
Another great overtake in the same exact spot too, and it looked like it held Witterballs up a little bit as well. He might have had a little bit of a slowdown as he lost now 1.2-second gap from Lockwood, so might have been a little bit of an off track there for Witterballs, but he should be able to easily catch back up to Lockwood before the end of the.
Yeah, I think so. He's surely facing an inevitable results here. Is Brian Lockwood, but he's probably having a little bit of fun whilst it's going on. It's allowing Miles Clotesley to close in a bit. I don't think enough to really make too much of an impact into this one. We're nearly a third into this race now, 19 minutes in. 11 minutes to go in this race, one. Of course, as I said earlier on, another half an hour race coming up for you later on, where we will have a reverse grid. We'll really mix up the order out there. It's really the only proper battle going on out there. Like I said a few minutes ago, Gosling and Sherman's relatively close to one another. But you can see they're not really going wheel to wheel at the moment. Very evenly matched on pace, those two, as Lockwood is under pressure from Witterballs. Here comes Witterballs, but I don't know if he's like a single screen user, Davey Witterballs, but he seems to be very hesitant turning in those situations, Tyler, where there's might be a car on his inside, and he's losing a lot of time because he's taking, or he's leaving a little bit too much space on the inside, I'd say.
I honestly don't know. That'd be an interesting question to find out because I honestly, for myself, running open wheels, I have three monitors, but my unfortunately my computer specs can barely handle two. So I've been racing single screen, and but probably with a lot of the racing experience I've got, I've probably would know where the drivers are. So maybe with Davey it might be the same thing where he's just not able to see who's on his inside and can judge the distance a lot quicker. Um, but yeah, that'll be a good question because I know I've been in that same situation as well as being racing on a single monitor. So it'd be very interesting to see how that setup is working out for him.
Yeah, definitely. Thankfully, we don't go to Circuit of the Americas this season, as well. Otherwise, that would face a lots of problems for any single screen users like myself. And in these open wheelers, it's not usually quite so bad. Certainly from my experience in the Radical SR8, of course, the season finale of that coming up tomorrow, as we see. A little bit of IndyCar going on at that. Personally, I don't even watch IndyCar, so I don't really have the right to even make that analogy. But Witzbolz is doing what I believe they do in that series, and he's trying to break the draft. But Lockwood is still staying in there. What fantastic resilience this is! Fantastic tenacity, because well, most drivers would have given up a while ago. Really, Witzbolz should be quite a few seconds up the road, but instead it's Lockwood trying to come back at his rival. But this time, going into the second chicane, crucially, Witzbolz hangs on to the position, and now he really needs to try to have a couple of strong corners here to finally break that draft and to finally pull away in in sixth position.
As here goes Lockwood hanging on the draft still, just being able to run with Davy and being able to keep that draft has been very helpful for Lockwood as he's going to look on the outside, but Davy's going to block him off there, going through a scary and might give Davy the opportunity to try to pull away on the long straight, but I don't think that's going to happen. As here goes Davy trying to break the draft again, knowing he needs to break that draft if he wants to Lockwood to start losing time on him.
Yeah, it's a little bit surprising that kind of that breaking of the draft doesn't happen more often in iRacing. I think it's a little bit of a protocol not to do that. But to be fair to Davey, this battle is so dependent on the slipstream. You can understand his logic for trying to break the draft as much as he can. And crucially, now he's zero point 0.4 seconds ahead. And even with the slipstream, Lockwood isn't closing in, so it seems as though he's just pulled away enough Witzbolz, and that's a nice first corner as well. And well, maybe this battle just coming to an end finally. And about time as well, because remember, Witzbolz made his first move on Lockwood some 5 laps ago. It was pretty much, yeah, we've been concentrating on this battle for absolutely ages, and seemingly Davey now pulling away a little bit. Another battle potentially brewing out there is Gosling, Sherman's, and maybe Simpson as well. Simpson is 7.5 seconds behind, but closing in by about 1.5 seconds per lap. Got 6 minutes to go. It's going to be close if the Apex Racing UK driver can just about catch in time. He might just see him in the background. I don't think we quite saw him in that one, but yeah, he's 7 seconds behind, closing in on these two at a decent rate of knots.
Looking at the lap times right now, Nick Sherman's running a 45. Gosling's running a 45.3, running a little quicker than Coletzi, but it's just not going to be enough time to catch up to Coletzi. So Gosling's got to just work on trying to run the right pace, but as well as being able to keep an eye on where Sherman's at and just defending as much as possible and just hang on for that ninth place finish.
Yeah, it'd be a nice result for Paul Gosling if he can hang on to this one. And at the moment, Sherman's struggling to get to within about half a second currently. Good battle between these two. Should probably remind you what's going on out in front because we haven't been able to pay too much attention to it. Peter Vehement still leading the way by nearly 5 seconds. He's marginally faster than Kevin Ellis at the moment, a couple of tenths a lap faster. than his teammate. Top 2 in the championship. Nicholas Rasmussen looks like he might be finishing in 3rd position. Not sure if he's got a podium yet this season. He certainly deserves one, but certainly an upturn in pace for Nicholas today. He is losing time to Richard Alsop, 2/10 on that last lap, but the gap still at 2.5 seconds. It's been like that for the majority of the race. So expect Nicholas to hang on to this one unless he makes a mistake. Like I said, Alsop in 4th, and then it's Halliburton a further 5 seconds back in 5th. Witzer Bowles in 6th, who's edging away from Brian Lockwood at the moment in 7th, and then it's Miles Clotesley, Paul Gosling, Nick Shermans, Alex Simpson, Paul Ilbrink, and Marco Namella rounding out the field, with Will Daniels retiring from the race earlier on. Sherman's just getting a little bit closer now to Gosling. Down to 2/10 of a second. You can see going into the Sky chicane. You can just see in the background there Simpson. And now off the circuit goes Sherman's. The first mistake certainly I've seen that Nick has made. And that's probably just ended this battle with 4 minutes to go. Simpson is closing in very quickly. It's down to only 3.5 seconds now. And he's, what, 1.5 seconds a lap faster than his rival. So yeah, it's going to go down to the clicking stages. I think these drivers have got 3 more laps to go. So it'll be close to see if Alex can catch with Paul Ilbrink a further 4 seconds behind. Of course, in one sense, you want to, get the result, Tyler, but in another sense, with the full reverse grid quite inevitable here, you kind of want to finish a little bit lower down the field so you get a higher grid position for race 2.
And looking at the points right now, that'll probably end up being the best bet for Ilbrink, because Ilbrink right now is in 3rd, but he is 50 points out from Ellis and Berryman. So, and with Berryman and Ellis being way up in the front, this might be Ilbrink's best opportunity is hanging on the 12th so that he can be guaranteed in the front row just in case the wheel decides to land on 12 and not on any other number, because then that'll really hurt Marco Namella, and Marco Namella would end up starting 13th. So a lot of strategy in play here for Ilbrink, because Ilbrink's just got to stay ahead of Namella, and with Namella not being able to catch up as quickly, it's going to be very interesting to see how this wheel plays out, because if the wheel lands on 12, Marco Namella is going to be out and going to be starting in 13th in the back of the field, and that's going to be a big struggle for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said earlier on, it worked out perfectly for him at Road America 1 week ago. So we'll be hoping that we get anything but a 12. Remember, a 12 is the smallest we can get. I think something like a 1 in 8 chance of a 12 kart reverse. Namella should be looking strong, but I never count it out. Certainly, the Racing Network with certainly producing a decent setup today, so he should be competitive if he does start on that front row after an issue
Sorry to
earlier
interrupt
on.
you guys. Yes, the smallest number is 14.
Oh dear, I've been hyping it up, and I didn't even know what the numbers were. There you go, 14. I think I was getting confused with the World GT wheel, probably. So it's 14, so it's guaranteed that Marco Namella should start on the pole position for race 2. So yeah, him and Ilbrink on the front row, that could be very interesting.
So we got all excited for nothing. So pretty much in a way, it's just going to be a full. We might as well just say it's going to be a full reverse field of the 13. William Daniels is going to be the only one left out. He'll start in 14th after getting caught up in a big wreck in his own doing. But right now, as it stands right now, Marco Namella would end up starting in the front row alongside with Paul Ilbrink. So it'll be very interesting to see how the strategy plays, as Peter Berryman and Kevin Ellis should be crossing the finish line now to finish up the race. Or actually, we got one more lap, sorry. My timing was off. But from what it's looking like, it's going to be an interesting race too.
I think so. We've seen some fantastic races, particularly Spa was one of the best races I think we've ever seen on Apex Racing TV. And we've had some pretty good battles to rival that as well. Not sure if this is going to be the final lap or not, because Bayman literally crossed the line with about 1 minute 40 to go. Oh, sorry, no, I'm being very stupid. It's just clocked down to 0, as I'm sure you can all see. So this is definitely the last lap. I was getting all confused there, thinking that we had an extra minute, as Paul Gosling has to come to the pits, seemingly maybe with a fuel issue, or he's being very sneaky and fancies a pole position start for race 2. That's a very short pit stop. Maybe it was down to fuel.
It looks like might have been just fuel. It looks like because that was a quick pit stop as well. So Gosling's going to be falling all the way back now. Probably going to be falling back to 12th. So be very interesting now to see Gosling now going to be on that front row with Marco Novella now. So Ilbrig's not going to be happy with that.
Well, Namella's retired, seemingly. Alright, so sorry, here comes Pete Bayman. He's going to win here at Monza. Race 1 goes his way and he extends his championship lead further. Brilliant drive there from Pete Bayman. Got the start, broke the jobs. From then on, it was an easy drive to the checkered flag. Kevin Ellis will be in second position. He'll be pleased with that one, with Nicholas Rasmussen. A fantastic podium. He holds off Richard Alsop. A nice drive from Alsop as well to gain six positions into 4th. Which suppose will be pretty close to Halliburton come the finish, but they're not going to quite go side by side. And then, yeah, just the other drivers filing through. Well, I was saying just before, Michael Namella did retire. He completed 16 laps compared to the leader's 18 laps. So I think he should still be eligible. I think it's something like 75% of the race distance you have to complete to be eligible for the reverse grid. And of course, with the reverse grid at 14 minimum, then he should certainly be on pole position anyway. Here comes Gosling. He'll be the last driver to come through. And, well, another great performance there from Pete Bayman, I guess, Tyler. He got that start perfect, and that's the advantage of starting on pole position, because you do have the opportunity to make the jump on everyone else.
Yeah, and with being able to get that jump, it really worked out for him. And I'm looking at the live timing, and I have a feeling Marco might have made a mistake and might have just cost himself now the pole position, because from what I'm seeing on the live standing, he's 2 laps down.
Yeah, that's what I was just going through before, with him completing 16 laps compared to the leader's 18. And yeah, he should be eligible, but well, we'll wait and see. I'm sure we'll have an answer come the start of race 2. But for now, going through the results of race 1 in this race. Peter Bayman, the race winner, ahead of Kevin Ellis in second position. They were far ahead of Nicholas Rasmussen in the end in third, who held off a strong charge from Richard Alsop. Then in 5th position was Kane Halliburton. 6th, Davey Witzbold. 7th was Brian Lockwood after a crash, but he could be a very good pick for race 2 starting in the midfield. Miles Clotesley, another good points haul for him in 8th, with Nick Sherman's in 9th. Alex Simpson couldn't quite catch Sherman's in the end, and in 10th, with Paul Ilbrink in 11th. Paul Gosling finished in 12th place. He'll certainly be eligible for the reverse grid, and then we wait to see if Namella will be eligible. He was 2 laps down, as Tyler was saying, so well, we'll leave it to the organisers to see if he is on pole position or not. It's Will Daniels in 14th position, 16 laps down, and then Alex Johnson didn't start the race. Sam, do you fancy spinning the wheel? Usually, when we have this conundrum, when we know that's going to be a full reverse, that we spin the wheel anyway. Would we like to do that this evening?
I think we have to spin it.
Awesome.
There are a few spectators who might just want to see it spinning.
Oh, I'd love to see that. And the music as well, Wheel of Fortune, of course. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and I mean the wheel is 16, but it's gonna be full.
So a full reverse grid. And so yeah, it'll be Namella or Gosling on pole position. Hopefully we'll clear that up in about 20 minutes time when we go live for race 2 of the evening in the World F3 Championship. That'll be round 10 of the season. See you then.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Hi there, I'm Richard Jobling, Senior Software Engineer here at iRacing. I'd like to show you some of the work that we've been doing to improve the collision and the damage in our sim. One of the major changes we've made is how our collision systems work. The old system stored the track as parametric surfaces, and the cars were made of collections of spheres. As the cars moved around the track, we would recompute planes using the track surfaces, and then test those against the spheres. This worked well for spheres, but was too specialized to adapt to our shapes. So for the new system, we've built new high-resolution meshes for each track. This is more efficient and gives us a lot more flexibility for the car shapes. The new mesh incorporates all the track features our guys worked so hard to replicate. Things like curved geometry and changes in the surface material are all baked into the mesh. We've also taken our laser scan data and applied that to the mesh. And since the mesh is so high resolution, we capture all the detail that's necessary so that the tracks are just like the real thing. With our new mesh, we can now represent cars using smooth, convex hulls, which grouped together form the chassis, the bodywork, and all the other parts of the car. The new shapes are a much closer fit to the shape of the real car. During impacts, the shapes can deform according to the damage, and eventually they can break off as separate objects. All the parts, like wings, hoods, and wheels, can also hang from their joints, flapping and vibrating until they eventually snap off. All these changes are going to add a whole new level of realism to our races. If you want to find out more, please visit iracing.com and check out my blog post for lots more details.
Hi, my name is Greg Hill. I'm the Vice President of Art and Production here at iRacing. This damage project that we've been discussing is certainly a project that involved all hands on deck to pull off. We've got a rather sizable number of cars in our portfolio, and not all of these cars have been built with this dynamic damage system in mind. So what we had to do is one by one go through our race cars, and we had a team of 3 artists, a highly technical modeler, our technical art director, and our associate art director. All took on each car one at a time, and the work involved was researching that car, researching what would happen to that car if it were in a crash, depending on the forces involved in the crash, how severely it would be damaged, what parts might come off, what those pieces might look like when they're removed, what it would look like where the car has areas exposed that were previously covered by bodywork. So they had to do a lot of modeling to each race car, and they had to do a lot of work to essentially set up how the car would react to forces. So essentially setting the strength of the materials. What kind of force would it take to rip off this side pod, for example? Or under what circumstances would this nose cone get ripped off of a car? Or under which would it remain, but just be badly damaged? But all said, it's been a lot of work, but seeing the car models interact with the physics system and the new crash dynamics is really exciting and really cool to see, and definitely makes all that hard work worth it.
Hi, my name is Jose Diaz. I'm a visual effects artist at iRacing. I specialize in particle effects ranging from fireworks to water fountains, debris, crash, impacts, all in the service of improving the driving experience. So you have the main sort of new damage model that Richard's been working on. So that takes into consideration all the mounts and the chassis from the cars and which materials they are. And he's making all the calculations that tell you, like, okay, it got hit from this one side and the strength of that impact is this certain amount of values. If you hit something, that means that this mount gets off, something breaks. This gets added on top of that to sort of complement what is happening there with things that you would see in real life when a car crashes. So typically in a car crash, you will see all these little particles of dust, metal, scratches that will take all that force and momentum and kind of explode in a way. And it's all being driven by how fast the car was coming, how hard the impact was against what. That will give you that sense of like, man, that person really crashed hard, or oh, it was just a small bump.
Hi, my name is Chris Lurch. I'm one of the vehicle dynamicists here at iRacing. Our role in the collision project is to tune the collision properties of each and every car to ensure that they behave in wrecks as a real car would. And we've spent quite a bit of time going through literature from the automotive industry on the subject to make sure that we have panels that deform the way they're supposed to, both temporarily and permanently, that pieces that don't deform but rather just break at appropriate times in appropriate ways. The cars are absorbing energy the way they should and aren't sort of bouncing off the walls in crazy ways. The major properties that we look at are stiffnesses, which is how much a piece of the car deforms when a load is applied to it. And then we look at a couple of limits. One is the force limit beyond which the piece deforms permanently. And then the second limit that we look at is the brake limit, the force limit beyond which the piece will simply break. And then we also will look at damping, which is how much the piece absorbs energy versus how much it takes like a spring and can absorb as potential energy and then rebound back out like a basketball would.
Welcome back to the World F3 Championship live on Apex Racing TV. I'm Sam Fitzpatrick, and once again alongside me this evening is Tyler Vickery, Sam Kumo again broadcasting this event. And we're just gridding up for race 2 of the evening. The race 1 won by Pete Bayman, but with a full reverse grid. This could be a very interesting race 2 indeed. Paul Gosling starts on the pole position alongside Paul Ilbrink, Alex Simpson in 3rd. Nick Sherman starts in 4th with Miles Clotesley in 5th. Brian Lockwood could be a good pick for the win in 6th with David Witterballs in 7th. There's Kane Halliburton, Richard Alsop, Nicholas Rasmussen, Kevin Ness Jr. and Peter Bayman. Just got 10 more seconds to go of the gridding. Unfortunately, once again, Alex Johnson, despite joining the session, isn't going to be able to get out here. But we are about to get underway here for round 10 of the championship. And away we go here at Monza for the 2nd time this evening. And Gosling gets a very nice start. He's still ahead of Ilbrink, but maybe Ilbrink is going to launch a challenge going into turn 1. A little bit of action just behind. That was Lockwood just moving from the inside to the outside, and now going into turn 1. Is there going to be any contest? It's very close amongst a lot of the drivers, but they seem to have got through unscathed. It's Ilbrink leading the way now, ahead of Gosling. Simpson not being able to make the move yet. Here comes Shermans and Lockwood. Lockwood not gaining a position yet either. So a little bit of a disappointing start from his perspective, because he really needs to try to keep up with the top few drivers. Simpson moving up into 2nd position. That's just what he needed, and he's now going to be able to try to pursue Paul Ilbrink out in the lead. Side by side between a Racing Network driver, that was Lockwood and Clotesley, I believe. Lockwood now going up 2 positions up into 4th.
And Peter Behrman moves up to 10th, and Kevin Ellis is just behind them, but they're going to have a lot of work to do. They're already about 2 seconds off the, actually 4 seconds now off the gap to Paul Ilbring, but give them some time and they'll work together and get themselves up to the front.
Yeah, got Richard Alsop just in front. It's probably worth Alsop trying to hold back these two drivers because he wants to help out his teammate. And he's trying to keep his nose in there, Alsop, but it was never going to work out for him. Fortunately for him, single file through the second part of the Sky Chicane. Bayman not being able to make the move. And here comes Rasmussen. Fantastic straight line speed for Rasmussen. And he's going to be able to block in here. Ellis, although he's very generous there, leaves us a little bit of room to maybe make it 3 wide. We go just a little bit further ahead, and still he's still going side by side. Contact between the two of them. Rasmussen loses out. Ellis remains in 11th position. Rasmussen, in fact, down 2 positions from his race start. We've got Gosling and Lockwood, Halliburton and Witterballs, and Clotesley as well. They're almost going 3 wide going into turn 1 here. It's lap 2 of the race. You've also got fantastic action just behind as well. These opening few laps are so important. Witterballs moving ahead there of Halliburton and Clotesley, so a couple of poor corners there for Miles, and Halliburton crucially up 2 positions from his starting place of 8. And well, this is just going to carry on for a little bit longer. Will Clotesley try to respond here? He's right on the back end. How he isn't making contact, I'm not quite sure. Will he go for the inside? No, Halliburton that much better on the brakes, and those two will stay in 6th and 7th for now. Clotesley almost coming back down the inside. There's going to be contact, and Clotesley is into the wall now. Was that a little bit too aggressive for him? He realised that surely he was going to lose that battle eventually anyway. Fortunately, not too much damage on that CQR car.
I almost want to say maybe a little too aggressive, but at the same time, the way with the cold tires for the Formula 3 cars, they seem to have like a lot of grip and then all of a sudden no grip when you need it the most. So tires are very sketchy on these cars.
Ooh, side by side there between Halliburton and Bayman. So Bayman's quickly got close up to Witterballs and Halliburton, and now Witterballs will try to go through the middle, but there's just not the space. Not sure who closed in on who there, and Witterballs is now out of shape going into the Parabolica. So little downforce for these drivers to work with. Here comes Alsop as well. He's going to try to respond because the top two, or the two just in front of these guys, don't have the slipstream, whereas Alsop will, and he might be able to make this one 3 wide. He's 0.2 of a second behind at the moment, closing in rapidly. Here comes Richard Alsop, going to try to gain 2 positions in just 1 corner after making up another position in recent corners, as round the outside there goes Bayman. He makes the move stick, and Alsop will have to stay behind for now. Fantastic battling amongst these drivers, and now Ellis trying to make his way through as well.
Ellis working on the outside line, trying to see what he can do, but it looks like it's not going to work right now. But right now the gap though has been very close. Other than the top 3, Ilbrink's got a looks like a 1.5 seconds over Simpson. Simpson's got a 0.6 of a second gap over Lockwood, and then the rest of the field is either 3 seconds or further back, but still very close throughout the entire field.
Yeah, absolutely. The top 11, I believe, separated by about 9 seconds. So very close, and look at that. It's just a train of cars. Quite incredible. Credit to Gosling to still be in 4th position. Is he going to lose it into the Sky Chicane? Here comes Bayman down the inside, and Gosling's going to have to give this one up early because there's absolutely no resistance from him there. Alsop will be next, and that should be pretty simple for Alsop, I imagine, going into the Parabolica. But now they all get the slipstream, and maybe Gosling could be a little bit in a thorn into Peter Bayman's side. But here comes Alsop now down the inside. Is he going to be able to get Bayman too? No, just can get the 1 for now, but we'll get a decent slipstream. But he's run wide there as Alsop, and crucially has now lost quite a bit of time to Bayman, as Lockwood now goes past Simpson a little bit ahead of these drivers. Lockwood has been setting purple lap times recently, and he's in that purple car. He's up into 2nd position. Simpson nearly making some contact.
Ooh, great. Almost, there we go. Clean pass by Kevin Ellis there, and forcing it 3 wide, and Gosling was trying to make an opportunity of the same thing, but it looks like Halliburton's going to take advantage of it instead. Now we got the Apex Racing drivers 3rd, 4th, and 5th. They're going to try to work their way and get up to 2nd and 1st now.
Yeah, certainly Simpson dropping back a little bit, but you wouldn't count Bayman or Ellis out of the potential race winner. Like I said, a 1-2-3. That, illustrious 1-2-3, still not coming their way so far this season. Gosling has dropped from 4th to 10th in just under a lap. That's that's how he's just been shuffled down the order, and Sherman's not too far behind him either now. So poor Gosling out there, but still. A decent result coming his way potentially as Ellis and Alsop very close to one. Alsop, oh sorry, that's Bayman. Apologies. There's Simpson though off,
Oh,
and well, he was saying to me the other day how he was hoping not to have more collisions like he had at Road America. Well, unfortunately, he's done exactly that. Simpson with a mistake going into the Scary. Looks fine here, just the rear end giving up on him. And for some sort of reason, he's escaped back to the pit, seemingly.
I wonder if something else happened. It just seemed a little odd there. The car shouldn't have gone around like it did. I mean, unless the setup, he had the setup where the tires were a little bit lower. But that's very interesting. That was a very interesting wreck, seeing that happen, and especially with how planted these Formula 3 cars, you would very rarely see that happen, and that was interesting to see it turn out the way it did.
Yeah, definitely. As Alsop gets the move done on Ellis. Ellis not giving up though, going into the second chicane, and that's fantastic braking performance there from Kevin Ellis, and he gets that move back, but here comes Alsop. Fantastic run out of their corner, but Ellis defending right to the inside. A little bit of a dummy there. Wow. Well, Alsop wasn't particularly pleased. Very aggressive driving all of a sudden. He's got less downforce, as you can see visibly on that Racing Network car compared to the Apex Racing UK car. And it's giving him a chance down these straights. And Ellis there, a little bit over-aggressive, I think, blocking his rival's attempted move.
Yeah, and it's going to be to a point where Alsop's not going to be happy and might start getting really physical pretty soon, as Ellis is pulling away a little bit, but when it comes to the draft, Alsop's going to be right up on his bumper again, so going to have to keep an eye on this. We might see a dive bomb pretty soon from Alsop, because he is not happy with Ellis.
Yeah, he's just waiting till turn 1. That was where he got the move done on the last lap. Not a fantastic launch, but you know what, he's so close. Anyway, only 0.3 of a second. This should be easy for Alsop with the less drag he's got. You know what, he's going to be almost side by side with him by the time they get about halfway down the straight, because there goes Richard Alsop. Once again, Ellis not giving up, giving any defense. Halliburton only just behind, but he probably does the wise thing, just staying behind. He's going to watch these two for a few more corners before pouncing for 4th position. By the way, top 3 relatively stable at the moment. It'll be 2 seconds ahead of Lockwood, closing in a little bit with Peter Bayman, the fastest driver on circuit, in 3rd. But the battle just ahead of Halliburton at the moment. Ellis going around the outside. Is he going to be able to pull off the same move as he did on the last lap? Trying to prevent it is Richard Alsop, but he couldn't do it there. Will he go to the inside for the first Lesmo? No. But, well, this 4-way battle, such fantastic drivers, it has to be said. Kevin Ellis, Richard Alsop, and Kane Halliburton, and Nicholas Rasmussen as well. Fantastic to see these 4 drivers go out on a battle. Down the inside, maybe goes Alsop. I was actually racing against Alsop and Novella in a random D-class NASCAR Nationals race the other day round Moss Sports, and they were very strong around there. I was pleased to beat Alsop in one of the races that we did, and Nomella was extremely strong that day, as Alsop now moves up into 4th position once again past Ellis, but I'm sure Ellis will be coming back then soon.
Yeah, well, I'll have to try to join up with you guys whenever you guys run into a race like that.
Yeah. I don't know why they were doing it. I was just trying to get my license up to a C, but I had no idea what they were doing there.
Yeah, definitely. Really great battle here. Ooh, looked like Kane had a check up a little bit. Ooh, as Alsop got shoved away a little bit. Oh man, how did that not how did that not end poorly for Caden Halliburton? Because Rasmussen front wing was right at the point of no return of touching the 94 Kane Halliburton, and that would have been disastrous for him.
Allows us to get away. Round the outside goes Richard Alsop. That's it. Oh, and now into the wall goes Rasmussen after a podium in race 1. It's all gone very southwards for him. The Norwegian surely out of this one now, because that's a lot of suspension damage.
Yeah, he hit that left rear pretty good, and you can see how much toe out that left rear has now, and he's just got to try to get back to the pit roads.
This happened then, so he's just been caught out by the fantastic run around the outside by Alsop. Now who goes into who? Oh, I don't know about you there, Tyler. I thought Rasmussen probably shouldn't have come across in the way he did, but he was kind of just taking the racing line there.
Yeah, I think Rasmussen didn't realize how close the Alsop was, and I think it just, and as you saw, it looked as if Rasmussen was starting to head towards the inside line as if he was going to try to defend, and it just backfired on him, and Alsop was already there, and when the contact was made, he tried to react quickly enough and just lost the back end, and that left rear just took a big hit onto the Armco barrier.
Well, he is now into the pits. He'll get that fast repair, but I doubt he's going to finish in the top 10 in this race now. So disappointing for Nicholas Rasmussen. Joe, who's just been gradually accumulating the points, very under the radar has Nicholas Rasmussen been so far this season. That's a bit of a hit, but maybe his chances of a top 5 in the standings in the championship. Of course, this is the halfway mark in the season. About 10 out of 20. Next week, we won't be around for the World F3 Championship. We'll be having an off week due to week 13. Of course, in the iRacing world, getting ready for season 2. Of course, a few, well, I'd say a few. I think the one thing that we can be certain of is the BMW M8 GTE coming to the iRacing service, which will be a fantastic addition, particularly for the World GT Championship we cover. That will be a few drivers will be changing to that car, and well, yeah, will be a great addition. I'm not sure on the other elements that we're going to get. Hopefully, yeah, with the rates of change of iRacing, hopefully we'll get a couple of new things to try out. As Ilbrink now 1 second ahead of Brian Lockwood. At last lap, Lockwood was half a second faster than the race leader. Just behind that, Peter Bayman was a further half a second faster than Lockwood. So these three all closing in on one another.
Looking at the lap times right now, Berryman just ran a purple lap time, fastest lap of the race with a 1:42.9. Slowly closing in, but I don't think it's going to be quick enough yet to catch up. Berryman's about 3.5 seconds behind Lockwood, but yet Lockwood's only about a half a second out from Ilbrink, so it's still going to be very close. And Kevin Ellis is running quick laps as well, but Kevin Ellis is about 5 seconds behind Berryman, so Berryman's going to have to really push here if he wants any opportunity of catching up to Lockwood and Paul Ilbrink.
If you were Ilbrink in this situation, would you let Lockwood go and try to stay in his slipstream, or would you try to keep track position?
If you're on looking at the lap times, if Ilbrink's able to keep these lap times as they are, I would try to keep fighting with I would just try to keep my track position as much as possible, and then if Lockwood catches up, I'd make Lockwood work for it and kind of let Berryman fight to try to catch up, because Berryman's going to be using his tires up a lot quicker than Ilbrink and Lockwood will, and with having about another 14 minutes to go, as we're already almost a minute past the halfway point, and with not much time left, with probably about 14 minutes left in the race, it's going to be very tough for Berryman to try to catch up, as well as be able to make overtakes on Lockwood and Ilbrink. So if I was Ilbrink, I just try to keep my track position, and then when Lockwood catches up to you, fight with Lockwood, and just keep an eye on the time of seeing what Berryman's doing, and just try to fight Lockwood as long as possible.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the Radicals online driver decides to do that. That last lap, Lockwood only 1/10 of a second faster. Bowman once again taking half a second out. So, well, by my maths, 3 divided by 0.5 is 6. So 6 laps away. A lap is about 1.75 of a minute. And so, oh dear, here comes my maths. But about 10 minutes, 11 minutes, I think, until Bowman catches up. And we've got 13 minutes to go. So Bowman should just about catch by the end. Of course, the top 2 fighting would certainly help the Apex Racing UK driver. But he's on course for catching up by the end of the race. It's how much time he'll have to get those moves done. It's certainly hotting up to be a fantastic finale to this race 2 of the evening, the halfway point in this inaugural World F3 Championship. Just behind Alsop, catching up to Halliburton. These two staying relatively civil from what I've seen on the timing screen at least. Alsop getting quite close to Halliburton, but then just staying behind for now. They're trying to catch back up to Kevin Ellis Jr., who's only 1.5 seconds up the road. So let's see if Alsop goes for the move. I kind of want him not to go for the move. Oh, he's going to go for the move. There you go. Oh, okay. That was very polite there from Halliburton. Lifting out of it, letting his rival past. I think these two are working together to try to catch up to Ellis. Hopefully they are, because, you know, we want to see a nice battle amongst these 3. But that was good teamwork there. And just letting pass one another. And that's how you kind of use the draft around a circuit like this.
Yeah, definitely, and especially with this, it's like you got to take advantage of the draft as much as possible. Because if you don't take advantage of the draft, it's like you just might as well forget about. You might as well forget about trying to be competitive on this.
Yeah, definitely. Half a second now opening up between these two, so he's going to need a couple of good corners as Halliburton to get right back into the thick of that draft. I'm sure he will do. Out in the lead, 0.8 of a second now between the top 2. Ilpink lost another 10th on that last lap, but on this lap, opening up the gap by about 1.5 so far. Bowman now 2.5 seconds off second place, 3.5 seconds off P1. Yeah, it's just so difficult to call which way this is going to go at the moment. I'd absolutely hate to say who's going to win this race, because any of the top 3 have got a fantastic chance at this one. Ilpink hasn't won a race so far this season. Lockwood has won one, I believe. Bowman with about 5 race victories. So all different classes of drivers. And it's going to be very close when we go into the closing stages. Ilpink on that last lap, identical lap time to Brian Lockwood, with Bowman only gaining by 0.2 of a second. So maybe, like you said earlier on, Tyler, maybe those tyres for Bowman just going off a little bit with these very hot track temperatures.
Yeah, and looking at the temperature right now, track temps at 112 degrees Fahrenheit, which would probably be about 30 degrees Celsius, I want to say.
44 degrees Celsius.
Okay. And then the air ambient temperature is 81 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's still going to be a very hot track and a very hot air temp. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, and with the tire wear, because usually hot track temp usually will relate to very worn out tires by the end, and it'll burn up the tires a lot quicker. So be very interesting to see how this plays out for strategy wise, and trying to make it to the end, and who's saving their tires and who's not.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, these warmer temperatures reduce the grip for the drivers, cause a little bit more sliding, and like you said, more temperature build up, and a little bit more, well, to be fair, more temperature build up can cause a bit more pressure, which can help the tires. But it's mainly a loss for those tyres as the wear increases, as Ilpink trying to break the draft. He is going to go defensive here. It's Brian Lockwood just behind him. Is he going to go for the move? No, stays behind. Now, will these two fight and risk involving Bayman in the lead battle, or will they just stay behind? Here comes Halliburton back past Alsop this time, so they are still kind of working together, but they're not really gaining on Kevin Ellis at the moment. But they are the two fastest drivers, in fact, out on, or the three fastest drivers out on circuit at the moment. Ilbrink on that last lap, Bayman once again slower than Brian Lockwood in second position, so he's failing to really make much of an impact. As Ilbrink still just behind, not pulling the trigger yet, but he's got 8 minutes to pull off this overtake.
With 8 minutes to go roughly, it's going to be very close with time-wise right now. Perryman's starting to run a little bit quicker lap times, but the interval right now between the top two and Berryman are still 2.1 seconds. So still a lot of time for Berryman to try to catch up with. I mean, there's 8 minutes to go, so still a lot can happen, especially with Lockwood now closing in on Ilbrink, where we should start seeing a really close fight here pretty soon. So still a lot of time where anything can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Will Lockwood go for it down into turn one? Maybe he's significantly closer than he was on the last lap. These two with pretty much the same downforce trims, and so there's not going to be a massive overspeed here for Lockwood. But here he comes. Is he going to get outside, inside for Brian Lockwood? And this should be a pretty easy move. Wouldn't be surprised if Ilbrink lifts out of it, which he duly does. And now it's Brian Lockwood leading the way on course for his second race victory of the season after winning race 1 at Road America. And 4 tenths of a second between these two. Now up to Ilbrink to try to stay in that slipstream for as long as he can.
Seems like Ilbrink is struggling a little bit though there, even though they have the same downforce package. It just seems as if Ilbrink might have used up his tires a lot earlier in the race, because it seems like he's already starting to lose a little bit of ground on
Lockwood really strong through that first Lesmo. What is the gap coming out of the second one? You know what, that's a good second Lesmo actually for Ilbrink. The gap 4.5 tenths of a second. He's trying to keep it within 6 tenths of a second, and he should be okay. And just down that one straight here, he's gained 1.5 tenths of a second. That's the strength of the slipstream in this car. And a nicer sky chicane as well for Ilbrink, so getting it down to 3 tenths of a second. Bayman just closing in a bit. On that last lap, he was 7 tenths of a second faster than these two. He's 1.7 seconds behind now, and Ilbrink right on the tail. Shows just how difficult it is to break the draft in this race. And despite a good parabolica for Lockwood, he's still going to be under pressure going into turn 1. Bayman now within 2 seconds of the race lead. These two lapping quite a bit slower than pretty much everyone behind. Ellis, Halliburton, and oh, in fact, there's been an issue for Richard Alsop. Hadn't noticed that one, but he had been right on the tail of Kane Halliburton, and this is how it happened. Going through the parabolica as he lost the rear end.
Oh, he did.
Overcorrected it and then got onto the marbles on the outside.
Yeah, just looked as if he just got on maybe the brakes a little too hard earlier going into the turn and just really unsettled the car. But it looked like he was already offline going into the long right-hander in that last corner. So very, very rare mistake to see from Alsop, and just struggling to get the handling to work.
Yeah, he might be able to get back past Davey Witterballs towards the end of this race, but it's this lead battle that we want to watch. I'll take this opportunity to thank everyone who's tuned into this race, and of course all the drivers as well. And if you know who's going to win this race, please tell us, because the top 3 ever so close still. And yeah, please let us know on the YouTube chat if you have any ideas of who's going to win this one. Because the top 3 separated by 1.5 seconds now, even less than that, 1.3 seconds. As Bayman still closing in, he's almost within slipstream range now of these top 2 drivers. It's Lockwood leading the way. They've got 3 laps to go in this one. And is Ilbink going to go for the move? Going into turn 1? No, he's going to stay behind once again. Bayman's, I think, on that last lap, Bayman's made up another 0.4 of a second. Oh, it's going to be so close. Bayman's going to be onto the back of this one, I think, on the very last lap, but he's going to have 1 lap to pass the pair of them.
Yeah, I think there's going to be about 1 lap left to go in this race, and it's going to be very close to see if he's going to have enough time, because, oh man, I don't know what they're expecting.
This is what we want to see in the World F3 Championship. This is what I'm sure the organisers and the drivers wanted to see when they signed up for this series. A 3-way battle for the race lead in the closing stages, with no one having a clue of who's going to win out. We've got 2.5 laps to go, and still Brown Lockwood leading the way. Pretty much no other battles going on out there. Like I said before, Alsop might be able to catch up to Witterballs by the end of this race. That's the battle for 6th and 7th, but really it's these 2 which are closest to one another. Bayman with that high downforce, just losing a little bit down the straights. He does make up a little bit through the corners on this lap, failing to make much of an impression, only about a tenth of a second faster than these 2. 2 laps to go. We've got we've got 2 minutes and 15 seconds to go. So yeah, 2 more laps to go. Will Ilbink go for it this time? Going into turn 1. No, he's going to leave it, I think, until the last lap to make his decisive move. Of course, in the World F3 Championship, we have got an off week next week, GC week 13. And it'll be a good opportunity for the drivers to just recoup before the final 5 races of the season. And of course, also the World GT Championship, in fact, taking a break next week as well. So, of course, we'll still have the Masters on the Monday, and the iRacing Le Mans series on the Wednesday as well, along with plenty of other series as well on Apex Racing TV. That's the top 3. They're closer than ever. Bayman now only 1.1 seconds off the race lead. He's just got himself into play with 1 a bit laps to go. Who are you going to say is going to win this one, Tyler?
Shoot. I almost want to see Ilbrink. I'd like to see Ilbrink make an opportunity, but it's going to be interesting. I'm going to go with Ilbrink.
Could be a very good call, because he's been waiting for the move to pull off. And as we enter the final lap of the race, of round 10 of the World F3 Championship, and there goes Lockwood trying to break the jut. And you know what, Ilbink, I don't think he's going to be in range for an overtake going into turn 1. He's got to stay super close to his rival if he's going to get a move done into the second chicane. Ilbink right on the tail. Has he got a decent exit? It's good, but it's not going to give him a chance, I think, going into turns 4 and 5. And of course, Lesmos as well. 0.3 of a second. You can see him gaining, but it's not a massive braking zone in these Formula 3 cars into this chicane, breaking at the 100-meter board. But a nice run through there for Ilbink. He's going to be right on the tail, maybe going into the Lesmos. But no, Ilbink just staying behind. 0.8 of a second back to Bayman. Bayman may not make an impact in this battle. He's maybe going to just catch these guys 1 lap too short. As now going up through, going through this section of the circuit, going into the Sky chicane. Will Ilbink make the move here, or will he wait till the Parabolica? He's waiting till the Parabolica. You can hear that lift off there from Paul Ilbink. And now needs to absolutely nail his line through here. He's got a really nice launch there as Paul Ilbink. He's probably going to be able to get alongside by the time he enters the Parabolica. defending hard is Brian Lockwood. Is there any space on the inside? Ilbrink has to go to the outside, the final corner of the race. Ilbrink round the outside, has he got the run? No, he's just lost out seemingly, and unless he gets a superb run to the line, it's going to be Brian Lockwood
He's got
surely
the run.
winning round 10 of the championship. He's pulling alongside his Ilbrink, but it's going to be Brian Lockwood who wins out here at Monza. A fantastic battle between him and Paul Ilbrink. Bayman was right on the tail by the end of the race, but it was a fantastic move, and as we see contact between Alsop and also Witterbols as well, the battle for 6th and 7th, they're still going to fight each other across the line. They got half their cars missing, and who's going to get there to the line? It's going to be Alsop just about beating Witterbols, with Sherman's behind, not quite being able to profit from that. But what a lead battle that was, rivaling the battle that we saw at Spa earlier on in the season, and it's Lockwood who wins out.
What an unbelievable race that was. And Berryman ran the quickest and the fastest lap of the race again on the last lap with a 142.8. So Berryman needed one more lap and he would have had an opportunity to try to fight out for the.
Yeah, like I said, he was just one lap too short maybe. And, well, he'll be a little bit frustrated, but of course, fantastic points for his championship. It will be the highest point scorer today once again, like he has been at so other many rounds this season. And at the halfway point in the championship, he holds a comfortable advantage over the opposition. And I think everyone now has already crossed the line. In fact, it was a very tight field out there. And we can go through the final results. It's Brian Lockwood winning out by 0.059 seconds in the end against Paul Ilbrink. It was a run to the line, and in the end, a fantastic final corner from Lockwood helps him to his second race win of the season. Pete Bayman was only 3.5 tenths behind by the checkered flag in third, from 12th on the grid. Kevin Ellis in fourth. Kate Halliburton was a strong fifth, with Richard Alsop and David Witterbols with a rather comical finish in 6th and 7th. Nick Shermans finished in 8th with Paul Gosling in 9th. Miles Kleitsley in 10th, with Nicholas Rasmussen having a crash in 11th, still finished on the lead lap. And then Alex Simpson unfortunately had that incident, that spin through the Sky chicane, finishing in 12th position. And we usually do get some interviews with drivers, and we've already got an interview, I think, with Davey Witterbols out there. And Davey, well done out there. It was first off, we have to go to that finish in race 2. I don't quite know whose fault that incident was, but good on you to get back on your way straight away, trying to get to the line.
Yeah, that was a very bad accident. I don't know whose fault it is. He went wide, I went wide. We made contact. Maybe it's my fault, but I'm not sure about it. But yeah, it was all or nothing for both of us. So yeah, we tried and we failed.
Yeah, but in the end, not to, no positions lost for you two in respect to everyone else, so wasn't too bad. Just take us through your day. You got a couple of decent results out there, so you must be pleased with accumulating so many points.
Well, yeah, in the first race, I messed up a bit in the first lap in the first corner. I had to slow down, so I needed to let pass everyone, and yeah, that was very bad. Then I had a second slow down in the second chicane, so that was a big mess up from me. But after all, yeah, I had a decent finish. My pace was not good. It could better. Just a bad day or something, and I was not confident in my brake, so and the car spins easily.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the combination of the hot track temperature and the low downforce made it a very difficult car to handle today.
Yeah, especially in the second race, it was at the start 47 degrees, very hot, very tricky to drive. My setup was yeah, not so good for it at a medium downforce package. It was not so good, but I was just driving my race, trying to make no mistakes and just let the other go.
Well, it was good to watch you up there, Davey. And before we let you go, any shout-outs you'd like to give?
Well, like always, thanks to the organization, thanks to you guys for the broadcasting. I want to thank Giorgio Ponti from Ponti Motorsports, and also Sim Racing Bay for setting up my steering wheel. And yeah, to everyone in this race, we had a nice race.
Thanks, Davey, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time.
Okay, see you.
We've also got an opportunity to have a chat with Brian Lockwood as well. And of course, our race 2 winner. And Brian, you must be delighted with that. What a fantastic battle between you and Paul.
Yeah, I'm really happy I was able to get that win. You know, the whole race I was chasing down Paul, and Peter was chasing me down, so I really didn't know how it was gonna shake up until the very end. It seemed like we ended up running a setup with less downforce than, I think, a little less than Paul, definitely less than Peter and the rest of the Apex guys. So once I got ahead, um, you know, as long as I didn't make any mistakes, I was able to defend my position pretty easily, it seemed.
Yeah, definitely. That run down to the Parabolica. What was kind of going through your mind at that point? We saw you kind of desperately trying to defend the inside, but there must be so many different things to think about with the driver you're racing with kind of drawing alongside you. You know that you have to get a good exit, but you pretty much nailed that Parabolica. And if you hadn't, then you would have been under big pressure to the line.
Well, Parabolica, in these cars, at least with our setups, it was pretty easy to find a rhythm through there. And once you found a rhythm, you know, I don't think that was ever going to be an issue. I wasn't worried going into Parabolica. I was worried that he'd get a big run on me coming out of Ascari because I spun there during race 1, and the car was really unstable if he made even the slightest mistake. So I think I ended up losing a 10th through Ascari, and he was right on my. You know, he had a really nice run going into Parabolica, but I held the inside, and he just wasn't able to hold the outside through there. So I took home the win.
Yeah, it was a fantastic victory for you. And of course, next week we have a week off because of week 13. I don't know if you run the official series in this car, but will you take a bit of a break from this car for a little bit and then get back going, or will you do a little bit of extra practice for round 6 of the championship?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna take a break. We've been racing the official series for most of the season. We've stopped racing the last couple weeks, but that's how we got most of our experience in this car. And all of us are pretty tired, definitely ready to take a week off. So, you know, I'm actually going up to Barber Motorsports Park to test in the Global MX5 Cup car.
Oh, awesome.
So, you know, I'll be going up there. Once I get back, I think I'm just going to sleep a lot.
Don't blame you whatsoever. You certainly have earned that after that. Well, if you weren't panicking going into the Parabolica, we certainly were. We were making up for you out there because that was a super intense finish. And Brian, before we let you go, any thanks you'd like to give to anyone?
Yeah, just thanks to everyone at RKE and the Racing Network, especially the Racing Network for this season. I'm, of course, on loan to this team, and I'm really glad that I could get a good finish in race 2. So thanks to all those guys.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brian. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
See you in 2 weeks. Thanks, Sam.
Are you okay to take the next one, Tyler?
Yeah, I'm completely fine with that.
Who would you like, Nicholas Rasmussen or Paul Ilbrink?
I think we can do. We'll do Nicholas Rasmussen. Alright, with having a Nick over here, unfortunate race in race number 2, but you were able to still have some decent runnings. Tell me what happened in race 2.
Yeah, race 2. I mean, it was a bad race for me overall. I was too conservative to begin with. And once I finally made up some spots, I had some damage from the first lap. And like I was alongside Richard. And I honestly forgot a bit about the damage, concentrating on racing him. And that damage pulled me a little bit to the right, and without me noticing too much, I just touched his wheels, like while we were side by side. And then I think we net coded a little bit, and it just sent me into the wall. So that was just a poor race, like both in terms of luck, but also in terms of my driving. So yeah, that's something to look back on there, and learn from that.
Yeah, that absolutely. The especially with both of the races, was that did you have to make any kind of like modifications to the setup, especially with how some of these drivers were running different setups compared to probably what you were running throughout the entire race with it being mod?
No, I stuck with the same set. I obviously Apex was running with quite high downforce levels, so I quite early on decided that I would stick with my very low downforce set, called the low downforce front wing as well. Try and do something different. Worked out well in the first race. Had something to fight with, but obviously the Apex guys was faster anyway, so I decided to keep the low downforce set for the second race to try and make up some spots. But obviously, you all know how the second race ended for me, so yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully you can be able to get back on it in 2 weeks' time. With week 13 coming up next week, are you going to be running any of the Formula 3 for the last week of the season at all, just to keep it fresh?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna run some official racing. Might be doing the big grid event during week 13, and then I think I'm just gonna recharge the batteries a little bit, and return hopefully in good form when the season starts back up again after week 13.
Alrighty, well, we wish you luck on that, and hopefully you have some better luck in 2 weeks' time for the Formula 3. And then, do you have any shout-outs as well?
Yeah, gotta give a real good shout out to my brother Alex. Thanks to him, thanks to the sponsors of the team, Newman Racing and the Extreme Gameware, and then obviously to you guys for broadcasting the entire season. Really appreciate it, and yeah, hope to see you guys in 2 weeks.
Absolutely. We wish you a lot of luck again as well.
Thank you very much.
Nicholas Rasmussen there. And our final interview will be with Paul Ilbrink. And Paul, whilst you'll be disappointed not winning that second race, you must be delighted to have such a fantastic battle with Brian out there.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it really was a battle. Like, he was quicker than me, and the fact that he was quicker like really helped me at the end, because he like towed me along, which made my lap times drop by like 2-3 tenths, and it just was enough to stay in front of Peter. So I have to thank him for that.
In the end, it was kind of side by side going into the parabolic curve. Were you kind of lining up for a move anywhere? We saw you kind of just staying behind Brian for the most part, but were you desperate to get that move done on the final lap?
Not desperate, no. Like, the mindset changed a bit during the last couple of laps, because I was expecting Peter to like catch us pretty soon, and I was like contemplating what I should do, if I should stay behind Brian, or maybe if Peter got really close, maybe go for an overtake on Brian, so Peter and Brian would get into a fight or something. But I was surprised that like at the end we actually looked to be able to stay ahead of Peter. So at that point I was just like following him, hoping the gap wouldn't like shrink too much, and then maybe do something in the last lap. But I think I ran, well, even though I ran like the medium downforce package, I still had a bit too much wing and not enough top speed to really do anything. So if there would have been a chance, I would have like sent it on the last lap, but just speed wasn't there to go for something safe. So second is fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And how was it kind of with the downforce levels out there? We saw Pete with much more downforce, and the Apex drivers running quite a lot of downforce out there. It must be quite difficult to race against those guys, because round some parts of the circuit they'll gain half a second on you, and then round others you'll gain half a second on them. It made for very interesting racing out there.
I don't think it was all that like different. I think there's like quite a bit of overlap between the different packages, even though you might put like a medium or low downforce rear wing on. If you even change the wing levels to add a lot of wing on the medium downforce package, or remove a lot of wing from the high downforce package, the speeds aren't like all that different. So I think it was okay to fight. It wasn't like a huge problem for the most, at least for me. But yeah, it was definitely interesting. But I guess for future races, we'll all be back to high downforce again.
Yeah, I think so. And of course, next up is Imola for round 6 of the championship. Of course, 2 weeks till then. Will you be doing some extra practice during week 13, or will you be taking a bit of a break from the car?
I might do some practice. Like I didn't do a whole lot of preparation for this race, so I hope to get a bit more in for the next race. And hopefully, my teammate Marco Mogren will also be back in the car again then. So I hope we are coming a bit better prepared for the next race.
Well, it's great to watch you out there today, Paul. And before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank?
I want to thank you guys for doing a nice broadcast. I'm looking forward to what's back, especially the second race again. And I want to thank my team, Radicals Online, and our various sponsors, and the sponsors of the series, of course.
Thanks, Paul, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
All right, see ya.
So I think that pretty much rounds us off for this evening. But Tyler, what a fantastic evening of racing we've had, particularly that second race. Just kept us guessing right to the finish.
Yeah, and with how the whole race ensued, with Berryman coming way far back to be able to catch up, it was real interesting. And I think if we had like another lap or two, it would have really made the difference.
Yeah, could have maybe given a chance for Pete to get involved in that one. We would have had, we did in the end have 3 different teams in the top 3. And yeah, this series just keeps on delivering some fantastic racing. Of course, like I said a few times, next week, this series will not be on because of week 13. But then we will be back in a couple of weeks' time for Imola for round 6 of this championship. Of course, tomorrow we've got the BSR Radical series, the season finale of that BSRTC series. That'll be very good, and also the Sim Racers World Championship as well in the GT3 cars. And on Sunday we'll also have the season finale of the Formula Renault 3.5 Championship as well, before of course starting week 13. We'll still have a couple of the BSR series, I believe. But on the majority, next week will be a little bit barren for us on Apex Racing TV, but we certainly look forward to getting back going once Season 2 of the iRacing Championship starts once again. Of course, in 2 weeks' time, like I've said before, we will be back at Imola for round 6 of the World F3 Championship. But for now, from me, from Sam, and from Tyler as well, we'll say goodbye, and we'll see you next time.